very young, and the forests were deep and dark. At the edge of one such forest lived a happy young girl, Isabel, with her mother and father, and they were a happy family. Often, before bed, Isabel's mother would sing to her about the world outside their home. She would sing of the dangers in the woods and how Isabel must never wander too far from home. For somewhere at the end of the old road that led to the forest lived the Goblin King. And if Isabel were not careful, he would spirit her away forever. Isabel would slowly drift off to sleep and dream of the magical world of the Goblin King. She imagined the roaring fires and great feasts, merry music and dancing, with never-ending goblets of wine and foamy ale passed around the room. She saw bizarre creatures, both beautiful and grotesque, imps and giants, goblins and fairies, all singing and swaying to the music in the great Goblin King's hall. Along with the other forest creatures. She would twirl around, taking deep drinks of the strong ale, and at the top of her voice, she would sing. Realm of the Goblin King would fade away with dawn's light. Isabel would carry out her chores, often wondering if the Goblin King was even real at all. One day, while playing outside, Isabel noticed something unusual out of the corner of her eye. Playfully darting around the air like a dragonfly, it whispered to her, and its light voice tickled her ear. Won't you come and play with me? There are many wonders for you to see. Afraid, Isabel swatted her arms in the air to drive away the strange creature. But the thing only smiled, and as it flew back into the shadows, it sang, "Won't you come and play with me?" Days passed, and Isabel was haunted by the song in her head. She could no longer hear the warning in her mother's lullaby. She found herself longing to find this wonderful world that lay somewhere in the dark woods. The voice was gentle and soft. Isabel. It wooed her, and Isabel could almost see the bright orange flames of the fires. She could taste the ale on her lips. No humdrum chores, no gardening, no silly bedtime stories. No drink, dance, song. Isabel was ready. She was ready to be alive. One night, after her parents had gone to sleep, Isabel followed the old road that led away from her cottage. She was going to the woods. Shone that night, but Isabel did not need one. Her guide was there, its voice a beacon in the dark. It buzzed around her head. Come and play, come and play. It started in and out of trees, its sweet voice leading her to a place deep in the forest, a place where no birds would sing. Isabel became afraid. Things that hadn't seemed scary now frightened her. She began to miss home. She wanted to leave, but where was the way out? She couldn't seem to remember. And her fairy guide, where had it gone? The ale was clouding her mind. She wormed her way through the mob of creatures who were still drinking and dancing, oblivious to her, it seemed. But one pair of eyes was not. Across the hall, one pair of dark eyes narrowed to focus on Isabel, and a booming voice echoed through the hall, silencing all at once.
Do you really want to flee, child? Back to endless chores and childish lullabies? It matters not, for once you are here, you may never go back.
Isabel turned and fled from the Goblin King's hall, running faster than she ever had before. Branches of thorns grabbing her, slicing her skin. She never looked back, only forward into the dark, tried desperately to find the old road that would lead her back home. Behind her was the stomping of heavy feet. She could hear the clicking of claws, the clacking of teeth. The drums filled the air, stabs of pain in her lungs. The forest was too dark. The drums were getting louder. She could hear things licking their lips. The darkness was thick, and it weighed her down. The drums were getting louder. All she could see was blackness, as black as the Goblin King's eyes. The drums were everywhere. She screamed! Then, silence. Nothing. Except a soft singing in the distance. Her mother's voice. Then little by little, tiny beams of light growing and glowing until they singed her eyes. She was in her bed, the morning sun warming her. She could hear birds. This was nothing more than a dream. Her mother was there, holding her in her arms, where she fit perfectly, Isabel thought. She was singing to her. Isabel hugged her mother